Climate warming has caused many changes of diseases in humans, animals, plants, and even agriculture systems. The main factors is climate variability and the temperatures that can alter the risk for disease. Hosts and parasites at rates of replication and even development rely on temperature and host pathogen interactions. Climate expansion of human malaria in areas will be offset by range contractions in others and at higher latitude areas. The main challenge is to accurately capture the interactions of host, pathogen, and vector to climate to consider the impacts of climate change on human disease.
A host-pathogen relationship is how viruses will provide for themselves while also having a host organism on the cellular or molecular level, and temperatures can cause changes in this. So a positive effect of temperature could be replication and growth, and higher temperatures can also lower the immunity of the host and will reduce disease. So the metabolic theory of ecology states that the need for species-specific development and survival is established through relations between metabolism, temperatures, and body sizes, which predict the response to the climate warming. So this showed how infection patterns change with warming and how parasite stages are definitely temperature dependent.
Climate change and increase in temperature has a huge impact on the ecosystems, especially in your marine systems. It leads to basically your dominant host, or like your big players in this picture on the right, some of the big species, when they're affected, it impacts a bunch of other species in the entire ecosystem. The increase in temperatures basically leads to an incubator for these pathogens. It's a perfect environment for them to grow, which then causes things like protists to increase, causing the decline of seagrass or Zostera marina, which in turn cause the extinction of an eel species. Then we take a look at microbial communities, which are basically the defense hosts or the protectors. They participate in mutualism and communalism, which either one or both species benefit. And with an increase in temperature, there's an increase in harm to those species, which can lead to an increase in infectious diseases and more damage to our biodiversity as a whole.
Shifts in behavior, movement, and phenology of hosts and parasites. Phenology is the study of natural and seasonal occurrences, particularly in relation to climate and plant and animal life. Polar regions are more spread out and less diverse, making disease spread more readily. Tropical regions, such as the Caribbean, are known as disease hotspots due to migratory paths crossing near each other in the high diversities. Long-distance migrations can lower parasite transmission by allowing hosts to escape pathogens that accumulate in the environment. Due to the changes in pathogenetic life cycles, mosquitoes have lowered phagocytic cell activity, causing increased climate variability. Climate change affects developmental stages, relations between ambient temperatures, and metabolism. Many diseases of humans, wildlife, and plants, biodiversity at local or regional scales can increase rates of pathogen transmission.
Climate change is responsible for an increase in animal extinctions through disease transmission and environment destruction. Animals unable to adapt to these catalysts are causing populations and biodiversity to decline. Furthermore, animal diseases can be transmissible to humans. Water supply plays a large role in humans acquiring diseases such as cholera, and global warming is raising infections and malaria rates. All of these can be deadly. Considering humans are a cause for climate change, the system can be seen as a vicious circle of destruction. Developing ways to correct this cycle is a main goal of scientists today. One of the ways scientists can mitigate destruction caused by climate change are forecasts. These models are an excellent resource used to make predictions about future impacts of climate change. By developing models, scientists can predict climate change effects, preparations can be made, and resources can be allocated to help mitigate the impacts of the event. These forecasts have been proven to be helpful in mitigating malaria and managing crop disease. These models and predictions can still be enhanced, such as improving data collection, to allow useful predictions. The importance of early warnings provided by these systems cannot be disregarded as we look towards the future.
In order for scientists to make improvements in their predictions and their response, they must further deepen their understanding of how climate change is affecting infectious diseases. Sadly, scientists know very little about the conditions under which evolution will shape a pathogen response and how climate change will drive a host pathogen evolution. One challenge is the ability to detect changes in human diseases. For changes to be noticeable, we need to trace it over a long period of time. To curb this, experiments have been conducted to identify past climatic effects on diseases to help with the prediction of new ones. Another challenge is predicting the vulnerable regions and how the disease will impact human society. In order to curb this, scientists are developing a deeper understanding about climatic disease interactions to inform public health officials, which will help them deal with future diseases and outbreaks. They are also using surveillance programming to detect local-scale impacts of diseases. So, overall, the outlook for understanding climatic diseases and its impacts are on a positive trend forward.
In conclusion, the main challenge is to detect changes in disease risk with climate across all different systems. It is important to predict regions that are more vulnerable to infectious diseases and how changes translate to global health. Having a complete understanding of climate disease interactions will allow public health interventions to respond more effectively to new and old health threats.